Hi, good day all. Today we're going to be doing June 2017, paper 2, number 8, which is typically your sequence questions, right? Um, in most years, you'll see it as number 7, but in 2017, um, it's number 8. So let's look at it. The first 4 figures in the sequence are shown below. Figure 1 is a single black dot, while each of the other consists of black dots arranged in equilateral manner. Equilateral means equal manner, right? Draw figure 5. So if we look at figure 1, it's 1. Figure 2, you see 2 and then 2 going up. Figure 3 is 3. This one will be figure 4. So figure 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So this is how your figure 5 would look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see it's 5 going diagonally and you have 5 across. Right? So this is how figure 5 would look. How many dots would be in figure 6? You could possibly just do this very quickly. Figure 6 would have looked like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put it here. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So how many dots would have been in figure 6? 21. Or when you go into your when you go into this, you could have just found the formula, right? And let n be equal to 6, because that's basically what the asking you for figure 6, right? But you could just draw the image if you want. The table below refers to the figures and the number of dots in each figure. Study the pattern shown, right? Complete the row in which, okay, no, let's do this. So, oh, no, C is just to complete the row which corresponds to figure 11 and determine which figure has a sequence of 210. Okay, let's do part C. So when I have these type of questions, again, I always do my formula first, which is when they ask you for n, when figure is equals to n, right? So that means n is equal to n, right? And then we have, this is, right, this here is, you have your first, the second, the third, and your fourth, right? So your first values, all of them are half, so you know that your first values are half, right? Your second set of values, right? You have 1, 2, 3, and you compare it to your figure number. So your second values are equal to n, or your figure value, right? And remember, we're saying n is equals to n, right? Your third set of values, your sequence was again 1, 2, 3. So your third values would be equal to n, or your figure number, right? And your fourth set of values here would be equal is 1. So you know that your fourth values is a constant of 1. Right? So when I have to write my formula, I will use this. It will be a half multiplied by my figure number, which is n, multiplied by open bracket n plus 1. And that would be the formula for this. Right? Now my number of dots used in respect to D, right? I would say, I will look at the sequence 1 to 3, 3 to 6. All right. In this section here, there is no, the difference between 1 and 3 is 2, and then the difference between 3 and 6 is 3. So you're like, there's no common difference. So we cannot use the formula of an is equals to a1. We can't use that formula because we need to have a common difference. However, if we look at this, you can see that when you add these values up, or when you work out these values, you're going to get this. So what we'll do, instead of leaving this, like, instead of leaving it as a half multiplied by n multiplied by n plus 1, what I would do is work this out. So I'm going to multiply n by n and n plus 1 according to distribution law. So that's a half multiplied by n squared plus n. And then I multiply a half by this. That would be n squared plus n all over 2. So that would be the formula, n squared plus n all over 2, and that would be how you find this out. Now, once you figure this out, this is easy, right? So when n is equals to 11, it's going to be a half multiplied by 11 multiplied by 11 plus 1. Do not work anything out here. They want it in this form. So you leave it like this. And then you could actually put this in the calculator and put it 1 over 2 multiplied by 11 multiplied by 11 plus 1, right, is 66. Now let's just check. I use this. Let's check to see. So this is 11 squared plus 11 all divided by 2, and I do get 66. So you can't put it in this formula and you're supposed to get the same answer. So this is how you would do part C. They said determine which figure in the sequence has 210 dots. They're telling you that A, I want to know what n is equal to when the number of dots, which is this, is equal to 210. So you're going to have n squared plus n all over 2 is equal to 210. Again, when we're making n the subject, you're going to carry across 2 over the equal sign. So it's going to be n squared plus n plus n is equal to, instead of divide by 2, this is going to be multiplied by 2. So it's going to be 420. This is 2 marks. Okay. All right. This question is a little bit because what happens here is we get a quadratic formula of n squared plus n. If you carry across, you want to make it equal to 0, right? Is equals to 420. You carry across the 420 here, so you get n squared. No. No, we can't do that. You need to make n the subject of the formula, right? So you're going to have plus n minus 420 is equal to 0. And if you look at this, right, you could do it this way and then use your quadratic formula to solve this. Or, which is a easier way, I'll do it this way, right? Let's erase this. Next way you could have done it is use the number of dots. So you have a half, because that is a lot of work for just 2 marks and they give you so much little space. Multiply by, when you multiply this, you're going to get n squared plus n, right, is equals to 210. You carry across a half, so you get n squared plus n is equal to 420. Right, let me do this here. So you get a half multiplied by n squared, open bracket, n squared plus n, right, is equals to 210. You carry across, multiply by half, so you get n squared plus n is equals to 210 divided by half. When you're dividing fractions, you put the 210 over 1 and then you flip. So it's n squared plus n is equals to 210 over 1 multiplied by 2 over 1. So that's n squared plus n is equals to 420. All right. Then I factorize. This is n open bracket n plus 1 is equals to 420. Let's erase this. And the back of the, you make this, so it's going to be n squared plus n minus 420 is equal to 0. There are several different ways to solve a quadratic equation. There is your first way, where you use your formula. That is your fastest way right now. The formula for quadratic, especially they give you it in your formula sheet, right? Where, in this case with the unknown is n is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? A is your coefficient of the squared value, which is what is in front, what number is in front of n squared? 1. B is the value in front of n, which is 1. And C is your constant, which is minus 420. Put this in your formula. N is equals to minus 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 by 1 by 420, not just 420, minus 420, don't forget that negative 420, all over 2 by 1. All right, so n is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 420 multiplied by 4 is equals to, good Lord, 1680 all over 2. So n is equals to minus 1 plus or minus the square root of plus 1, 1681 over 2. All right, so you're going to get n is equal to negative 1 plus the square root of 1681 is actually 41 all over 2, or n is equal to minus 1 minus 41 all over 2. Now we know your figure number cannot be a negative number. This here you get a negative number, so it cannot be this. All right, so n is equals to minus 1 plus 41, which is 40 divided by 2, which is equals to 20. So what is the term that we're looking at? Your term, which figure in the sequence has 210 dots? That is when n is equal to 20. That is the figure number. Right? Write a simplified algebraic expression for the number of dots d in figure n. We already did it. You can have different answers. You could have n squared plus n over 2, or you could have n open bracket n plus 1 all over 2, or you could have a half multiplied by n plus 1 all over 1. You could have done this, doesn't matter. We already simplified, which was this when we found out the formula. Show that there is no diagram. Show that there is no diagram that has exactly 1,000 dots. So we want n squared plus n over 2 is equal to 1,000. Right? You carry across, multiply by it, so that's n squared plus n is equal to 2,000. You multiply by 2. So you have n open bracket n plus 1 is equal to 2,000. This one, I don't know. What you could do is you can say, and this is when you reach this step, you'll have n squared plus n minus 2,000 is all equal to 0. You carry this across, you'll get minus 2,000. And then you use your formula to find out what n is equal to, which is, we see that n is equal, no, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 1, c is equal to negative 2,000, right? That is, n is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So n is equals to negative 1 plus or minus 1 squared minus 4 by 1 by negative 2000, right? All over 2 by 1. So n is equals to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 8,000. No, 4 to the 8, yeah, 8,000 all over 2, right? Now, as soon as we do this, you are going to say n is equal to negative 1 plus or minus, and we find the square root of 8,001, and you are going to get a decimal. You are going to get 89.45. I approximated 2 decimal places. Now, as soon as you get this, all you have to say is n is not equal to, no, n is equal to a whole number. No. Yeah, n is equal to a whole number, right? And the answers you're getting when the number of dots is 1,000 is not equal to a whole number. So that's all you have to do. Or you could just solve it. Again, it would be n is equal to negative 1 plus 89.45, or negative 1 negative 81.45 all over 2, all over 2. Again, this cannot be an answer because it's a negative and cannot be a negative number, right? And only your figure numbers are only positive numbers. You're going to get 88.45 divided by 2, and is equal to 44.27 to 2 decimal places, right? When you get that, all you have to say is n can be only a whole number, and when the number of dots is equal to 1,000, n is equal to 44.27. So all you have to say is n have to be a whole number, and 44.27 is not a whole number, right? That is the working for this. So it's a lot of working for 2 marks. There probably is another way to do it. I'm just not seeing it right now, right? But yeah, that's how I would have done this, right? And that is the end of May, June 2017.